Well folks, here in the background is our current collection of historical weapons. If you haven't seen the previous video about it, I'll link it in the video description down there. And this video is to answer one of those frequently asked questions from people who look at my videos and go, how the heck can you afford all this stuff? Which is a perfectly fair question. So we, meaning my spouse Kara and I, are not rich by any means. If we were, we wouldn't be living in a 2-bedroom apartment. We'd have our own house, which would make making videos a lot easier in many ways, would give me plenty more options. But you know, this is where we're at, and we've been frugal for, well, forever, pretty much. We've had some pretty rough times where we were, stuck at pretty much minimum wage while studying, meanwhile, and it was pretty difficult to get along economically, and we couldn't afford this. Back then, around 2007 maybe, if my old me would see this, that would just blow my mind. At the time I had 3 swords or something. The collection has grown a lot over the years. So it's really mainly 2 elements. For one, managing your resources well, and also earning enough, of course, which kind of helps. And also being able to justify such purchases. And I'll talk about both of those. So first, we have a habit of keeping track of our expenses, logging everything and writing down what expenses we have, and then taking a look at, so where can we save? Is this really necessary? What can we do instead? For the longest time, we didn't even have a car in order to save on those extra expenses, and we just got around by bike mostly, or bus, which is still cheaper. And it was only really when I was hit by a car, ironically enough, and the insurance later paid out compensation, that we then decided, let's put that towards a car. But yeah, there are plenty of extra expenses that you can save on, things like going out for dinner. For the longest time, we never did it. Only in recent times, we do it occasionally, definitely not often. And you get the picture, right? Eliminating extra expenses as much as possible. And of course, double income, no kids certainly helps. The extra expenses from having kids are quite substantial. And both of us work. Kara works while studying full-time, either as a sessional instructor or as a teaching assistant, depending on what's available at the university at that time. I've been self-employed for really quite a long time at this point. Well, under self-employed, I also count freelance work, where you have somebody who contracts you. So I've done all kinds of things, from translation work to data entry. I've even done a consumer insight study at one point. So a variety of academic and office jobs. For a while, I also worked in a store that sells swords, knives, airsoft guns, variety of fantasy decorations and knickknacks and whatnot, which sounds pretty cool. But I gotta tell you, customer service is not my thing. Having to interact with people the entire day, no. I'm just too introverted for that. I don't think too many of you realize that. It's just easy to jump to the conclusion, oh, there's this guy who has this channel and he's seen by so many people. Obviously, he wants to be seen and all that. No, not really. I'm not particularly comfortable with having a lot of people around as an introvert. It just kind of drains me and is, well, if you are introverted, you get it. If you aren't, you won't get it. So whatever. That be that as it may. So being self-employed, of course, has some benefits, like, not having a boss is kind of nice, and, being able to schedule your day and plan things yourself and do what you like. Well, not always, depends on what it is, but whatever. And it also has some drawbacks. For example, not having paid leave or sick leave or anything. If you're depending on where you are as an employee, you may not have it either, or only limited. But basically means that you don't really want to take time off because it means losing money. and things like that. But, you know, and then there's, of course, taxes. And YouTube, by the way, doesn't pay as well as some may think. I mean, if you have like over 10 million subscribers, probably, but until then, it's somewhat moderate. And then, of course, the network takes its share, and then you have to pay taxes, and then you have business expenses. And that leads me to the other thing, business. For tax purposes, what I'm doing here is a business, you know, infotainment business, basically. And that makes it a lot easier to justify certain purchases. I mean, if that wasn't the case, I probably wouldn't even own half as much as I do. But as it is, because these things are relevant and needed for what I do for videos, it's much easier to justify that as a business expense. You're investing something into the channel to, you know, make more entertainment and information videos and all of that. So, and of course, it also helps that this is tax deductible. I don't even want to know how many thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars I've invested into this over the years. I mean, I could calculate it, I could look it up. I have everything filed for taxes, of course, but yeah, it's quite a lot. You know, you have camera equipment, audio equipment. I have multiple cameras, multiple microphones, video lighting, etc. A wide variety of things, you know, testing material for videos, and, you know, a bunch of things, as you well know. You've seen that. And in some cases, I get the money back, or at least a portion of it. If, for example, I'm done with a particular sword, I've done tests, I've reviewed it, and I've determined it's not a keeper, then I'll just sell it again and try to get some of the money back at least. So that helps. And yeah, all of this comes together. You know, having sufficient income, being pretty frugal otherwise with your expenses, being able to justify things as business expense, you know, that stuff being tax deductible. And finally, of course, also very important, support from viewers. That helps a lot as well. I have a Patreon page. I don't usually mention it because, I don't know. I just don't like when people just all the time shove that in your face. Hey, support me on Patreon, you know, comment, like, share, subscribe. All of this, I find that rather annoying, which I probably overdo it in the other extreme, so to speak. I almost never mention it. I'll pretty much never mention it. It's just in the video description, but yeah, that's not super helpful. But I just want to take the time to thank everybody who is on Patreon and supports the channel. It certainly helps. All of the money that I get there is directly invested into the channel. It wouldn't feel right for me to use that to pay bills. I mean, having paid bills is of course a prerequisite for being able to, you know, do this stuff and do videos and everything. But that's just our private matter, and I don't want to, you know, bring that into that. But Patreon very much helps to acquire things that I wouldn't otherwise be able to. For example, the crossbow that I've got here. This is quite pricey, really, especially after, you know, shipping and taxes and all of the import duty and the whole shebang. And especially things like the full suit of armor that's not really in the making, it's on the waiting list right now. That was made possible entirely by Patreon. It's going to take a while, by the way. It's going to be a year from now. That's the armor's waiting time. I mean, it might actually be like 10 months at this point, but you know, it'll take about a year from now, and then it'll take, I think he said 2 to 3 months for him to make it. So it's going to be in the future, but it's a lot of expense, and I wouldn't be able to do that if not for the Patreon support. So that's really awesome. I highly appreciate that. That's the weird thing about introverts. You know, when people are around, we tend to be kind of like, whatever. Not super talkative unless it's people we know and like, and there's not too many of them around at once. But you know, when it's just the camera, whatever, I can talk for hours. I shouldn't, because that wouldn't be terribly interesting, I think, but I know some of you will disagree, but that's okay. Anyway, so thanks for watching. I hope that answered the question, and see ya. Have a good day. Or night. Or stuff. Have a good stuff.